Good morning, everybody. I'm Kathianne Lewis, and you're at the Center for Spiritual Living, and today is a very auspicious and special day because we are having an animal blessing. So we've always been open and inclusive and welcoming. We're open, inclusive, welcoming community, and today, you know what? We are also really going to celebrate our four-legged friends, two-claw friends. I saw a two-clawer, whatever. If you brought it in, we love it. So thank you so much, and we love you, and we're going to have an opportunity to be loved by all these wonderful animals. Now, we did a run-through first service, and so here's what I want you to know. It's perfectly okay if your dog barks. If your cat barks, like that one just did, that's exceptional. So, whoa, actually we want to get it on TV as soon as possible. But really, if your dog barks, it's perfectly okay. What they're saying is, preach, sister. That's so, they're just saying, go ahead, preach the word. And also, it's okay because, especially second service, the dogs want to get to know each other. That's all right. Whoa, 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 I love you. It's okay. This is just life. What happened after second service is out in that breezeway, there was so much life. And isn't that what we want? Yes, that was a preach, sister. And isn't that what we want more of? I mean, anybody want less life? So we're here to celebrate life, and the animals will be celebrating with us. And we're going to allow that energy to just sort of build, and they will feel it, and they may be expressive of it. Bark, bark, which is preach, preach. So just know that. The other thing that I have to say is if you have a cell phone or, yeah, I guess it would take a cell phone. If you have a cell phone and want to sign in to Facebook, let people know where you are. I just said that we're having a doggone good time at the Center for Spiritual Living. I could have said it's going to the dogs, but people would have misinterpreted. So whatever you want to do, sign in, let them know that it's a great day, and in about 20 minutes they can catch up with live streaming, because it's going to be a great, blessed day. Aaron, I am so grateful. You're going to hear a song from Aaron that's just going to knock your socks off. It knocked my socks off, and I have boots on, so you know how hard that was. So, okay, just a few things that I want to say. Yes, that's praise God. That was a great song. I know. Clap, clap. Bark, bark. It's all the same. So, a few things that I want to share. Our Create a Better World team is amazing, and they collected a whole bunch of people that we could be assisting by giving contributions to our greater community. In fact, the Create a Better World team exists to do good works out in the community. And one of the ways we do that is that teams of people go out and do things, and sometimes we give donations. So we're giving a donation this service to Homeward Bound Pet Adoption. Yes. And that was nominated by Kathy White and Kay Carlton. Yes, so grateful, so grateful. And Kay was here with her new Australian Shepherd. Quite the nice looking dog. Oh, yeah. All right. Also, since we're speaking of pets, we're still doing a pet drive. I was kind of caught off guard. I just found out about it yesterday, so I didn't get any pet food. But I have till next week to bring in bags of pet food, because when people are challenged and they have a pet, they're also challenged with feeding that pet. So please think about when you're out shopping to get a big bag of food or cans. Doesn't matter, cats, dogs, whatever. Dogs shouldn't be eating cat food is what I hear. I'm not sure. That's just what I heard. So just do what's appropriate. And we'll collect that till next week through next Sunday. Also, this Wednesday, we're really fortunate to have a performer called Nemo. He raps, he does storytelling, he does amazing music, creates an environment, and he is going to be in the Pacific Northwest just this time, so we're really lucky to have him. And I invite you to show up, bring your friends. It is a trans-faith kind of service, so it's not going to be pigeonholed. It's just, let's all celebrate the goodness of life together. And that's this Wednesday. Also, how many of you have ever heard that friends don't let friends drive drunk? Okay, they also don't let them stay stuck for very long. So if you have a friend that's been stuck for a long time, or you have been stuck for a long time, I'm just saying, you might want to consider Beyond Limits. It starts on the 15th. Plus, we have 2 other great classes that are starting. Deborah Gay will be doing self-mastery, and Reverend Harold will be doing spiritual practice. So talk to them afterwards about any one of those classes. They're fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Our theme for this month is it's just now's the time to start learning again. Because as soon as you think you know, oh baby, that's a downhill slide, isn't it? Really, really. We want to stay fresh and young, and there is no end to our spiritual development. So if you want to take a class, I encourage you to just look into it. That's all I have to say about that. Those are all of my announcements. I have one other thing, and that is after this service is over, and you think, you know, having dogs sit next to me wasn't that bad. If this is your first time or your first few times, and you have not signed a connection card yet, I invite you to do so that we can put you on our extended mail list. We'd love to have you do that. And you can return this to me or to anyone with a name tag, and we'll make sure you're on our email list and our snail mail list, because sometimes we send things out that way. Also, you may wonder where to get this. Sometimes they're in the seat backs in front of you, but they're always in the offering basket as it goes by later. It's always there if you want to look at that. And the last thing that we do, because we've been doing pet blessings for 4 years now, it shifts all the time, but yet the dogs, it's basically invite your friends. Bring your best friends to church day. We've been doing that for 4 years, but one of the things we've been doing for like 24 years is we've been honoring people who are having a birthday, because your birth is important. So if you would stand up so we can give you a gift, that'd be great. There's a birthday, wonderful and wonderful. Anyone else having a birthday? There's one way back there. Yes. So great to have you here. So great. Thank you for joining us on this very auspicious day. Let's just take a deep breath. And I mentioned Reverend Deborah, but I'm going to mention her again because she's going to give us our opening prayer. But to do that, let's first just allow ourselves to sink into a very receptive place. Let the music do that for us. And then Reverend Deborah. And see, did you hear that quiet bark? That was a prayer bark. You know, there's big barks and little barks. They know what they're doing. And then that's the singing. That's perfect. Perfect. So Reverend Deborah will give us our opening prayer.
And what a beautiful song for this morning. We are surrounded with such beautiful faces of God, all shapes and sizes, some with fur, some without. And so we just breathe in that joy, the joy that comes from being surrounded by life, joy-filled, exuberant, loving life. And those of us that chose the human suit, we're filled with that same joy, which we can see reflected in the animals that surround us and see reflected in each other. It is such a perfect time to come together and remember what life is all about. It is this connection. It is this oneness with each other, with the planet and all of the inhabitants of it. And so in this moment, we feel that connection with life itself, with all of the varieties of form of life. And in that connection, we send love out to the planet, to all forms of life, to those around us. For this is what spiritual community is. It's the knowing that we are one. And so would you share that knowing with me by saying, And so it is. And so it is.
Us all getting into this together is perfect for today. Thank you, Aaron. After the service is over, he has a bunch of CDs out. Is that on a CD yet? It is on a CD, too. And then eventually, years from now, you'll know what he's saying. Like, really? Because you'll get a little bit, and then you'll get a little bit. It's be something to aspire to. And it was great. I love it. Because we are all in this together. You're a genius. Thank you so much for coming here and being with us. I'm so grateful. So grateful. So grateful. Much to say, many blessings to be had, but before I do that, I want to introduce to you someone that I've known for a long time, and you're going to love her, Rebecca.
Hi, guys. So I came up here today to talk to you guys about something that's super important for me, and I want to start out by just saying that I've been at the church for almost 15 years now. That's like my whole life. So I've been a part of a lot of the programs here. And by programs, I mean preschool, first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade. Yeah, I've been in all the YFM programs. So I know how amazing of an experience that was for me. I was also part of Coming of Age, and then a part of the teen program. They brought in all the teens just to look at me. Yeah, it's great. So I want to throw in that the teens are awesome. Being a part of the teen program for 4 years has impacted my life in a greater way than I think I could express to you at all. So being a part of that community really formed me into who I am today. We learned about how to communicate with each other, how to present ourselves, what it really means to question who you are, and how you can begin to figure that out. I don't know any other group of teens who have a family of 36. We had this year at CBEC, a 36-people family, who really support each other in that way, where I, as an 18-year-old, can text my friend and be like, hey, I need some prayer support because I'm freaking out about this. And they know what I mean, and they know how to support me. So I really appreciate that group so much. But I noticed a trend that I wasn't a big fan of, which is that when teens age out of the teen program, we don't see them anymore. The big service, the congregation, is such a great place, and it's a little bit intimidating for a lot of people. Specifically, those ages 18 to 35, we found were having a hard time fitting into this group. So what we've done is created a nice little safe transition space. We call it Next Thought. A group of us, about 4 or 5 adults, started it. We meet Wednesdays right here from 7 to 8:15. It's not a service, it's a gathering. So we meet together and we do some interactive activities with guest facilitators and usually end with a discussion. Why am I up here? Because all of you, I hope, are either in our age range or have a friend who's in our age range. And if you know someone who is looking for spiritual community, is looking for community at all, is looking to develop themselves, or maybe isn't, that was bad, I didn't mean to come out. You can say, hey, I know a place. It's called Next Thought. They meet right here from 7 to 8:15 every Wednesday. And I just really hope that I'll see a lot of your faces, or faces that your faces know. Come join us in our circle soon. Thanks.
Yay. Ah, loving it. Thank you. Today, the talk is entitled Animal Wisdom, and I want to share some wisdom with animals before we go into our animal blessing. And I need to say that I've been doing this for 4 years, so every time we do something, it's different. So yes, we have a Christmas Eve service, and it will be different every time. And yes, we'll probably have a Hanukkah celebration of some sort, but it'll be different every year. And this too, even though we've been doing this will be our 4th year, it will be different. Because I'm different and we're different. And I think we we stand on the shoulders of past services. So this is it's going to be different. And I'll get to how that will be in just a bit. But before I do that, I want to just express that what I'm going on and what I was inspired by is that in the reciprocal nature of the universe, what we bless blesses us. And the reciprocal nature of the universe, as we bless our body begins to bless us. As we bless our marriage or our partnerships, they bless us. As we bless our work, it blesses us. We can't continually complain about something and have it turn out well. Just, you all know that, right? That was, thank you. Yeah, see, that was a preach sister. That was a preach sister, and I'm very grateful. All dogs know that. Anyway, probably is saying, this is so remedial. Anyway, so what I've been doing the last 3 years is that we blessed animals. I'm going to shift it, and I'm not sure how, but God will tell me between now and then. Because there's so many animals here. We want to not just bless the animals, I want to give them a chance to bless you. Because they have everything that it takes for you to make a shift. There's just so much I want to say, but so let me, since words only come out one at a time, let me back up a bit. There is a story that's found in the Quran. It's a creation story. And in that creation story, which is very similar to what you might have read in the Bible, in that creation story, God calls all the angels in and introduces them to man. And in fact, Adam. And he says, Adam will be in charge of paradise. I just created paradise. It's that earth down there. It will be paradise, and Adam will be in charge. And the angels go, why? What? And they flap their wings, and they just sort of like shake their little cute heads, and stardust comes out, and why? And God says, look into paradise and name as many animals as you can. And the angels look into paradise, and they see things flying and crawling and creeping and running, and yet they can't name them. And so he calls Adam over. He says, Adam, how many of these can you name? And he names, 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 and he names. And the angels are embarrassed, and they give up. See, what you can name, you are in relationship with. And so, in the beginning of that creation story, humankind was given dominion over the earth and the things upon it because humankind at that time was in relationship with those things. And recently, we've lost that relationship. We've lost the ability to live in harmony with all the things that are in this thing called paradise, which is this planet. There's still paradise here. See, the funny thing about it is that in any creation story, it was only the humans that were kicked out. The animals are still there. They still perceive what it would be to be in paradise. So perhaps they can lead us back into paradise. Not different, the same, but different. So how would they do that? How could we have that restoration of paradise? How can we allow the animals to teach us what at some level we knew? And you know what I love about studying the mystical traditions? The mystical traditions are not just about history, they're also about the evolution of our individual as well as our collective soul. So there was a time when a child was not told that something was other. See, even in our Bible, in our creation story, The thing that made Adam and Eve have to leave paradise is well, were you there, honey? It was terrible. Terrible. Oh. Anyway, that was a woeful bark. Left paradise. Anyway, I forgot where I was. Okay. Okay. What made Adam and Eve have to leave paradise is that they ate, the story goes, they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. All of a sudden, they knew good and evil. All of a sudden, they knew what was right and what was wrong. All of a sudden, they knew what they wanted to be with and what they didn't. All of a sudden, they started pigeonholing things. And guess what? You can't pigeonhole things and be in paradise. And the animals didn't do that. They don't pigeonhole things. A dog's a dog's. A ewe's a ewe's. You know, they are not weighing today against yesterday. They're not hoping today gets over so then go to tomorrow. They're not categorizing everything. So, how can we go back into this thing called paradise? First of all, if we allow the animals to teach us, they will teach us to get over our sense of separation. The first and the last sin, which is a mistake, is the sense of separation. And last week I talked about the 4 kingdoms of consciousness. I think you can still see it on the web. People were asking more about it. They said, is there a book on it? No. We just talk about it. It's like, it's oral tradition wisdom. And one of the things that we said is that the last kingdom is the kingdom where the kingdoms dissolve. It is the kingdom of no kingdom, where everything is just God. And to get there, you have to dissolve your sense of separation. And we do that. We're doing that as a culture, as a race. We're doing that, aren't we? And you see that babies, that's what I was getting back to. Remember babies? Because individually and collectively we're growing up. And when we started, there was a sense that everything's the same. A baby doesn't go, I mean, you know what babies can touch. We don't have to get too graphic, do we? It's all good to them. They would just as soon play with a snake as a kitten. It's all good to them. They haven't eaten of that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But once we do, we want to go back to that place that we experienced as a culture and as a soul, before we started defining things and making up what we could be with and what we couldn't be with. So animals help us do that. They help us heal that sense. And let me just give you, in broad terms, how that might look and why I think it's incredibly mystically and religiously true. See, the old religions that we have grown up with, and I'm not, when I say we, not just the people in this room, but we the people of the earth, many of them grew up with a hierarchical idea of life itself. Here was God, there was angels, half a notch below angels, because the Bible said so, was humankind, and then there were animals, and then there were plants, and then there was the earth. And the animals were even kind of hierarchical. The ones we could use, the ones we didn't like. You know, good dogs, bad fleas. Good kitties, bad coyotes. There's no cat here, it's okay. We do that, don't we do that sort of thing? Which is, once again, more separation, isn't it? Animals, if they were created by God, and the earth was created by God, and all that God created was good, we're being incredibly, what's the word? Yeah, egotistical, but I wanted another word too. I can't think of the word. Arrogant. We are arrogant to not see it as all the same. It's all the same. God does not approve more of the elephant than it does of the flea. God does not approve more of the oak tree than it does a blade of grass. Life is life, and it's enjoying all of it. And I honestly believe that, and I got this from a book, we actually sold out first service, so you won't get it here, but you could maybe get it on Amazon. The book is called Animal Wisdom, and it's written by a woman who was a veterinarian, and she went into veterinary school so that she could help endangered and abused animals all over the world. So she would go to refuges in Africa and in Southeast Asia, everywhere, just to help animals. And in so doing, she learned to communicate with them. So she can help them, and she communicates. And what she says is that her experience of an animal is that they know they are alive, but they also know that everything else is alive, and that they don't see the difference in life. It's just this life form with that life form, but that life form isn't even better or worse than them. It's all life form. If we paid attention to animals, we would stop thinking of ourselves as superior. Because here's the deal, guys. God doesn't think that way. And we'll never know the mind of God if we think that way. We'll never know the mind of God. How many of you, besides myself, want to know the mind of God? Einstein said, knowing the mind of God is what's really important, and everything else is just trivial. I'm paraphrasing. I know somebody's going to Google it right now and say, no, he really said it this way. But I got the gist. So I want to know the mind of God, and I can't as long as I think that I am inferior or superior to anything. Animals don't. They're just so wonderful. We have to learn that if God created it, it's important. See, we are actually so arrogant that we think some animals are better than others. Not us in this room. I'm talking about as a culture. So I want to share with you this story that I also got from this book, Animal Wisdom. Often we have no idea what an awkward species is for until we manage to get rid of it. When ranchers wanted to kill off the wolves in and around Yellowstone National Park because they were preying on the livestock, they encountered little opposition. According to the Endangered Species Act, wolves were non-essential. But a few years after the wolves were eliminated, the forest started to thin out. Now, I wouldn't have thought of that, but God did. Elks like to feed on young trees, and no longer threatened by wolves, their population was soaring. None of the young trees were living long enough to replace the older trees that were dying off. I know, and it was bad. This is upset. The thinning of the forest meant a loss of habitat for many other species who started to die off also. So the Park Service introduced coyotes to bring the elk population down. Trouble was, coyotes found it easier to catch foxes than to catch elk. So pretty soon the foxes started dying out as well. The park became overrun with coyotes, and elk went on munching everything in sight. The only thing for it to do was to bring back the wolves. They were reintroduced in 1995, and since then, the park has been gradually restored to balance. Wolves might be awkward if you are a cattle rancher, but they are nevertheless indispensable. Everything that is put in a place is there for a reason. It adds to the whole scheme of things, the whole balance of things. And so I believe when that song that Aaron sang is updated, he'll have the whole wolves reintroduced to Yellowstone Park will be inserted there somewhere. If we know that everything is important and is on purpose, then we start to see that everything is holy. There's no one that has a pet that doesn't know that it has a soul. Doesn't it have a soul? It is not It is not one of those little toys you wind up and goes, mama, mama, mama. It has a soul. It has a life. It has a personality. We get to see God itself recreating itself in a form that a lot of us can handle. It's an amazing thing. It does have a soul. Everything has a soul. Smaller than what we have in pets, but the pets help us to know that. If you'll notice, children in every culture, when they're very young and they draw animals with human faces. Why? Because they know it's a furry person. It's a bird person. They get there is a soul in there. Just like there's a soul in their brother and sister. Just like there's a soul in their mom and dad. Children know these things, pet owners know these things, and it's time for us to learn these things as well. Which means once we start to do that, and if we're quiet enough, we'll listen to them speak. And they'll tell us what's going on. There's so much wisdom in animals. So much wisdom in animals. When the tsunami happened in the 5 years ago, was that where the big tsunami was, about 5 years ago? If people had been paying attention instead of taking pictures of the ocean rushing out, we would have lost less people, because every animal that wasn't tied up headed for Highland. They know things. They are immersed in intelligence. We can learn so much from them if we learn to stop separating ourselves from them by seeing either superior or inferior. The next thing that they can do is they can teach us to love, to really, really, really love. See, there have been times when, as a minister, it was very difficult to go through what I was going through, because my job is not to process in front of you, nor is my job to get my life all over everybody. My job is to be professional and then handle it the best I can. I have prayers, I have a sangha, I have prayer partners, but nothing helped me go through a couple of the things that I've gone through in this ministry. Like the cat that would greet me, sit on my lap, look up at me adoringly, and say, you know what? I don't care what they think. I love you. And you would have too, honey. I know. It's every time I mention cat. So that CAT would sit on my lap, and really, it was like that wonderful animal looked up at me and adored me. You know what that was? That was God adoring me. Really. If there's no sense of separation, if there's no inferior or superior, and it shows up and it gives you what it needs, isn't that God giving you what it needs? What you need? It's so true. How many of you have ever been lifted by an animal? And then we have to lift them, and we do when we love them. Because the more we love, the more we will love, the more we will hear, the more we will speak, the more we will be influenced by them, and we're influenced by them, and they influence us, because it becomes reciprocal. Back to that reciprocal nature of the universe. Bless, bless, love, love. There's a story told of Rumi, which was the great Sufi mystic, and he was seen by one of his students carrying a bunch of food outside the house, snuck outside the house, and was walking down the street. So the student followed him. What's the master doing? And he went to an old ruin outside the city. And there at the old ruins outside the city was a dog, a mother dog, who had been hurt, so therefore she couldn't hunt. Therefore she couldn't feed her new pups. So Rumi fed her. And he saw the student look at him. And so he said, oh, come over here, I'm feeding this dog. And how'd you know about the dog? He says, oh, when your heart's large enough, you always hear the cries of those who need you. Love does that to us. How many of you talk to your animals? How many of you know they hear everything and know everything and they talk back? It's so wonderful, isn't it? I heard that. I will tell a story that I told first service, and somebody gave me Kleenex so I can get through this, but I've cried once, I probably won't cry again. I had a horse, Lakota, and something had happened when she had her last foal that had done something to her muscles, which really meant that her back legs were having a hard time supporting her. And she was in a lot of pain, and we could give her pain medication, and she would go around like she was okay when she was on that, but you can't keep it on it forever. And also, when she would trot off thinking there was no pain, she was just damaging her legs more. So the vet said that it was bordering on abuse and we needed to do something. So I decided that I would put her down. So we fed her well that day. She got all the grain she wanted. She thought, oh, this is good. Brushed her, told her how beautiful she was, put her out in our arena, closed the doors so she didn't see the vet come in with the white truck, and all the activity up the hill. And finally, it's time, so I go out to see her and I say, Lakota, honey, it's time for you to go join Champagne, your best friend. And she knew what that meant. She backed up. They know everything. They do. She backed up. She pulled on me. She didn't want to go. I said, Lakota, honey, you are an Indian pony. And you're not afraid of anything. And your body hurts, and you need to be free, and you need to run through the clouds. And you need to never be hampered again. Now, what are you going to do? And she put her head and nudged me, moved me aside so she could walk out with all her dignity, and ran up the hill. If I didn't revere life, I would have missed that moment. Life has so much in store for us when we revere what's around us, and animals will teach us that. The last thing that they teach us, besides that we must let go of our sense of separation, that we must love and love and love, and they'll love us through that hard spot, is that they teach us to more consciously connect to the God in everything else. And the way they do that is by showing us that there's intelligence everywhere. They really do train us about intelligence, because scientists have an idea that the brain is the capacity for intelligence. And yet they got these schools of fish, little teeny tiny fish, little teeny tiny brains, and yet they're swimming along and they couldn't figure that out. See, what an animal knows, according to this animal communicator I was reading, is that an animal doesn't trust its brain. It trusts the intelligence that it lives in. It trusts that it will always know what it needs to know, so it doesn't worry and plan ahead. It trusts that the intelligence that is living them will move them, inspire them, tell them where the hunt should be, tell them how to avoid the hunt, tell them when to migrate, tell them when to do all the things that they're doing, and that's what they can teach us. See, we trust this too much. And we can learn to stop that and trust what they're listening to. So, back to the blessing. I want to invite anyone with an animal to start way over there. So we're going to start lining our wonderful animals up over here, because we've got more, and it got too thick here. So start this way, move, bring your animal up. If it's small, you can sit with them on the stage. If they're big, they might want to bring them this way. Look at them. I want up here. I want up here. No, me. I said I'm me. Come on. Okay, come on. No, but let's have some over there too. Big dogs over there. So that we have all of our animals spread out so that there's lots of room. We had animals, the only fight this morning was dogs wanting to be blessed more than other dogs. My blessing, my blessing. So we need to spread them out. Spread them out. And please, if you have pictures of animals, come ahead and we'll be blessing those too. Yes. Spread them out all the way over there so that everybody gets loved on. And we've got lots more room down here, you guys. Lots more room. The best way to be blessed is to make sure your animals got some room. Come on down here. Lots of room. All right, this is how we're going to do it. Oh, my goodness. Hi, handsome man.
Little lady.
Oh, lady. Oh, a ballerina with the legs.
Her name's Gaia.
Gaia, you're so beautiful. Gaia. Yes. Gaia, of course. All right, so we're going to get everybody up here. Now, this is how we're going to do it. I know it's so exciting. The dogs are quiet. It's now the humans' problem. And we have a cat. So, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start down here, and Sophie and I are going to tell every dog that they are blessed, that they are blessed. And then anybody that wants to follow us can follow us. But here's the deal. Spend time with one animal. Don't do them all. I'll try to bless every one of them, but you spend time with one animal. Go over to the animal and say, the God in me, the life in me, sees the life in you. The God in me sees the God in you. And then bow to that animal and say, Namaste. And if you pay attention, you'll notice that the blessing will come back to you. So let's begin.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
First of all, before I pray, notice the energy in the room. I don't know if it's in the back of the room, but right now I'm sitting where so many people were loving on dogs, and it's just palpable. The love is palpable. It's so wonderful. Thank you, everyone that brought your animals. Thank you so much. Animals, thank you for bringing your humans. Thank you for everyone that came up to bless and to pet. Thank you so much. This is so much more personable than the dog park. This is heaven. And so I just give thanks that the Holy Spirit, that Spirit of truth that resides within each and every one of us, I give thanks that it's opening up our eyes, our hearts, our minds, our consciousness, our awareness, to reveal to us that we're connected with everything. And we see the connection, just as the animals do. And we delight in every moment, just as animals do. I give thanks that we're learning not to dwell in the past or plan for the future, even though we know that what we do today will form the future. I give thanks that we are allowing intelligence to move us and direct us, just as animals do. I give thanks that we are allowing ourselves to grow in our ability to love and to accept and to know we are worthy of all good things, just as animals do. Thank you, sweet Spirit, for this day and for the richness and the ripeness of it. And so it is. Let's take a deep breath. I'm so grateful for this day, grateful for this day. Beauty, 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 grateful for this day. I'm so grateful that we are here to experience more life and to let that life thrive in us. And so I call this time together good and very good. And I call the gift that is given good and very good. And I call the people that give it good and very good. And the people that don't, good and very good. And the four-leggeds that just watch it all go by, good and very, very good. All is good, and so it is.